How's it, everybody? A family had a very successful farm in Little Town, but as more and more farms started to develop, many people started losing interest in their crops and sales began to go down. The family started searching for other areas they could expand to, and after many years of searching, they came across the Nomasburg region, which was perfect. They bought a piece of land with a stable in very poor condition with some 5 oak trees bordering it, situated around a lake teeming with wildflowers and lilies. They renovated the stable to a barn, and over the years, this place would see numerous extensions and upgrades. In time, the owners created a reforestation volunteer program in partnership with the local government, with the aim to replant many of the forests harvested during the 19th century when the region saw major growth. As a remembrance to the early condition of the stable and its 5 oaks, this place became fondly known as the 5 Oaks Ranch. This name and backstory was suggested by F. Xerox, and I hope I am pronouncing that right, whose suggestion had the vast majority of votes on a poll ran on my Discord server, when the members felt that this was an iconic enough place to have its own name and backstory. So, F. Xerox, thanks for the name and the backstory. With that, let's get into today's episode. Alright, welcome back to the Nomasburg region. Sanctum Gamer here. It is episode 9, and I would like to start off by thanking you all for the support you are showing on the series. Special thanks to everybody who has chosen to support the channel on Patreon or on YouTube membership. Your support is highly appreciated. So today we will, if you recall from the last video, I mentioned that I am recording these episodes literally in the week that they're going out. And generally I take a whole longer than a week to produce a video. So in order to not rush anything too much for this episode, I decided I would not kind of expand the town towards the town center, but instead work on the outskirts of the town. So I'm taking this episode to kind of blend the area that we built in the last episode in with the rest of the surrounding areas going towards Driftwood, which was the town we built some 2 or 3 episodes back. So I figured I would extend on the farmlands that would border this town. I mean, building the farms is probably like one of the easiest things that I can do. So in order to try and get as much content as possible into this video, I decided let me rather focus on the farms around the area, get the blend looking fairly nice, and then from episode 11 onwards we will work on continuing the expansion towards the actual town center. So what this is basically a whole bunch of farms that just sit just on the outskirts of the residential areas, and I wanted it to be like a mix of different size farms. I wanted it to look like there are different types of crops that are being grown all over the place, and some areas like the one that I'm working on now, I wanted to make it kind of look bare, you know, like the the place has, or all the crops that were being grown here had already been harvested, and the land is basically just being prepared, I suppose, for the next season. Yeah, so that's kind of the look that I was trying to go for. But at the same time, I wanted the farms to all be kind of irregular. So I didn't want this to look like it was planned farming where everything is a nice grid, like the farm that I built in the previous episode. But instead make this one look a bit more organic. So it's a case of pieces of land that exists there, and the residents, you know, are laying claims to various tiny pieces of land, and everybody is trying to make kind of the most out of what they've got. So we have these farmlands that are kind of circular in shape. Some are a bit more rectangular because, you know, I suppose the people work a bit more closely in getting, you know, in setting those areas up, or maybe the entire area is owned by one person. So they've actually managed to make the whole place, you know, a bit more structured, since the whole thing is kind of, I suppose, being farmed by that one person or that one individual. And then here we just have slightly smaller ones, but also still having the crops. So the idea is that these sort of places that are so close to the residential areas, the people that live in and around here are the ones that are just making use of this land at the back here and basically doing their farming. Now originally I had wanted to actually just put farmland everywhere, but it just seemed a bit too monotonous, and I wanted to add a small little like settlement kind of in between it. So we'll get to that in a bit. But around here, I originally had meant to extend the ranch, well, not this one ranch, but make a sort of ranch community around here. I think that's what I kind of intended when I first built this ranch way back in, I don't even know which episode it was, episode 5 or 6, I don't know. But I decided to just change that a bit. We'll leave this one single ranch here, since it already has its own name. It's kind of an iconic ranch. We'll leave it here, allow it to occupy the space, and then have it just be surrounded by all of these farmlands. But I think I will still want to do a ranch community at some point on the map. So I'll just have to change strategies around that, replan where I will do it. But it will probably be a bit further out from here. I think the blend of these small farms that are kind of taking shape between Driftwood and this town that we're building, I think it actually complements the whole place much better. And like you'll see in the cinematics at the end, I think the aerial shots of the whole place actually looks quite nice. I think the whole place has come together quite nicely. And so this ranch gets, I suppose, that recognition of being this iconic ranch that just sits here, and the others will kind of take shape elsewhere around the general region. So here is where I decided to actually put down a little settlement. I didn't want to just keep going on with the farms. I mean, it probably would have still worked out, but I think having a small little community that kind of occupied the space between the farms added, you know, a bit more life to the whole place. So it's not too big, it's not too small, it's just a nice little one road that goes in. It has a turnaround, and then I suppose the farms in and around this area, I can see it as belonging to quite a few of these people. So here what I also did slightly different from my usual videos is I didn't edit out as much as I usually do, and that is simply because I really didn't have a lot of content for this episode. Like I mentioned, I need more time for each of them, but to make the best of it, I thought I would keep in more of the stuff that I do place down. I suppose in a way well, it doesn't really speak to how long it takes, but by not cutting out too many of the trees placing, the prop placing, I managed to get a decent video length out of this. Normally, if I also have edited this in my usual style, this video would have ended up being about 12 minutes long, and I thought that was just a little too short. And plus, somebody actually left a comment in one of my videos saying that they wanted to see more of me placing down the residential areas, and I shouldn't feel too bad in not cutting them out. So I suppose there you go. So places like this that I would normally edit down to like a minute's worth of placing down, I think this is like slightly longer than a minute. I don't know, I'm not really timing it. But yeah, so it's basically a nice neat little settlement that takes shape here. I love keeping this place all green, and I really wanted kind of in between some of the farmland, I wanted really dense looking forestry. So I tried to mix up a lot of the leafy tree, I think it's what it's called, to get that density or that dense view from like the ground level, and then stick in all these oak trees as well, just to make it look more rich, and it just looks like there's like just trees everywhere. So I really wanted that dense look, and I think I kind of got it quite nicely. And this is that little community, so it's just a single road that comes in that turns around, and I usually edit out how I place all of these houses around the cul-de-sac. So you can see how, because the tip of the cul-de-sac is not zonable, it's just the tip of a road, I end up having to place the house kind of elsewhere and then move it into place. And it's doing that for as many cul-de-sacs that I have in the region. It's quite tedious, so I generally tend to cut all of that out. But yeah, I wanted to also have a bit of a play area for the people around here. I mean, it's a small one, but at least the kids have somewhere to go, Every little area that I put together, I try to keep the little ones in mind, that they must always have a place to go and run around, keeping kids entertained. Shame, it's quite a job. So at least there are places they can go running around. These houses here in the center of the screen, I mean, in hindsight, I could have actually left the middle part also a bit more open, allowing people to also relax and chill there, but I can clear that up a bit. I think those jacaranda trees also kind of look quite nice in the place. So yeah, I like the way this community turned out. It's a nice, cute, small little place. Really my kind of vibe. And then yeah, this is kind of the last area. We'll just close it off with a few more farmlands, and then I decided very late on to put a gas station around here as well. I figured the people traveling between this town and Driftwood, which is to the right of the screen as you are looking at it, would at least be able to fill up with some petrol if they need be. These paths that I put between the farms as well, they're actually also functional, which is quite nice. The idea is that they are meant to serve as the roads connecting the different farms that allows farmers to drive their tractors and all that to get to all the various places. Somebody had left a comment mentioning how these farms have all been put together and there's no real way for the farmers to actually get there. And I thought that was a very valid point. So I kind of took that into consideration for this, and then decided to use these dirt paths. I didn't want to use the roads because the roads were slightly too thick for the look, but I think this nature path kind of served the purpose perfectly. And what I've done is I've connected it up to all the roads in all the residential areas, so people actually do use it, people walk around it, so you can kind of try and look out for that, I suppose, in the cinematics. And yeah, so the last thing is this gas station that I mentioned, and that kind of closes off this whole area. So that's it for this episode. in the next one, it will be a cinematic overview where we'll take a look at every single thing that's been built so far. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to leave a thumbs up, leave your comments, and yeah, thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next one. Cheers.